everyone, welcome back to the Chain Reaction Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Shaughnessy, a co-founder at Delphi Digital, where we're 5 full-time analysts focused on institutional crypto research. If you aren't a subscriber, you're missing out, so visit the site while you're listening. One quick housekeeping item. This podcast is strictly informational and educational and is not investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any tokens or securities or to make any financial decisions. I may personally own tokens that are mentioned on the podcast, and you can view the show notes for our full disclosures. With that out of the way, today I'm thrilled to have on Farbood, the CEO and co-founder of Coinmine. For those new to Coinmine, it's the plug-and-play device anyone can buy to start mining crypto from their desk, office, or anywhere. We talk about everything from creating an Apple-style hardware device to everything regarding the Coinmine device itself, from mining on your phone, over-the-air updates, supported cryptocurrencies, what people can earn, support for the Lightning Network, and what the future for Coinmine holds. Interestingly, we talk about Coinmine software, which optimizes mining for the most profitable asset. It was great having a dedicated founder on whose goal is to make it extremely simple for anyone to be involved in crypto, earn passive income, and help secure these networks. With that, let's jump in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm thrilled to have on Farbood, the co-founder and CEO of Coinmine. How's it going?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So give us your background and how you got started in crypto.
Sure. So prior to Coinmine, I'd done a few startups. One was in the learning space, backed by Benchmark. It was called Grocket. We sold that to Kaplan. Worked on a couple of other startups that didn't really go anywhere crazy. Was lucky enough to work with the design leads at Apple on a company called Learnist that I did. Got to work closely with their design evangelists. They ended up naming our app one of the 40 iconic apps of all time, which was a really cool sort of acknowledgement for a product person. And then, as far as crypto, got into it, I think the way a lot of people did in terms of just buying some Bitcoin and then some Ethereum and then some altcoins, many years back. I've been building computers since I was a kid, and even my first startup was in high school, building computers for friends and family. My co-founder, Justin, is a great designer, a great industrial designer. He did Pebble Watch 2, which I think was the second largest Kickstarter ever. He did Pebble Core. He's worked for Adidas and Braun. We're both sort of, crazy Apple fanboys, if you will. And so, like I said, I've been building computers since I was a kid. So Justin and I were roommates in San Francisco, decided to get into, we were both into crypto. So we decided to get into mining and sort of powering crypto. Bought a couple of ASICs, messed with those, started building GPU-based rigs. And then one day, Justin, I likes telling the story because when I tried to build the first rig, even though I knew how to build computers, it still took me, several days of just, trial and error, figuring out what software to use, what miners to use. And that was just to get, an Ethereum miner up and running. And then if I wanted to mine other coins, that means creating more wallets, going to more pools, more software downloading. And so Justin came up with the idea one night about, what if we made the Apple of crypto devices? What if we made something anybody could use? And at first, the idea didn't totally make sense to me. It didn't click because, I'd just gone through building this crazy mining rig, and it takes a lot of time and energy, and that's just to get it up and running, much less keep it maintained. If you think of total cost of ownership of something, it's the time that costs more than the parts do. But it clicked for me finally. Like I said, I've been building apps forever. When I sort of realized you could control the device with an app, so then you didn't need a mouse and a keyboard and a monitor, and it didn't need to be a whole new computer that you have a desk for in your place. You could just put this sort of Xbox-sized device anywhere in the house and control it from an app and Wi-Fi. So that's sort of what started Coinmine.
That's an awesome backstory, and I love that you used to build computers. I remember building a few off of parts from Newegg just to play Battlefield, like way back in the day.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was literally doing it when I was like 5 years old as well.
Oh yeah, that's way better. I think I was like 15. So
I was doing it then too.
No, that's the fun part, right? So,
Yeah.
Coinmine, I feel like has gone all over. I feel like I'm seeing your devices all over Twitter. And last time I visited Pomp for our board meeting, I saw one on his desk. What is the main takeaway from the Coinmine device? Just give us the overview on the pricing. What can you mine through it? Just the whole takeaway there.
Sure. So, Coinmine, we describe it as a plug and play crypto device. So it's all about making crypto in general easy, whether it's powering some proof of work networks like Ethereum, or using it as a Lightning node, which will launch the Lightning features later this year. It ships with the LND. It ships with the Bitcoin blockchain on it. So we really just have to sort of finish that up and flip a switch there. It may be able to do staking on certain networks. Obviously, the app provides you wallets to get started. You can then move your crypto from our wallets to other wallets if you prefer. But we wanted to make crypto itself sort of plug and play and easy to participate in. So it's the retail price is $7.99. It's $6.99 right now for July. And like I said, it ships with some proof of work mining. So it does Ethereum, Grin, Zcash, Monero. I think I've got them all. And then most recently, we launched what we call Bitcoin mode. So the Coinmine can now make Bitcoin for you, which is, I think, people's favorite cryptocurrency, of course. And it does that by algorithmically powering whichever crypto network transfers to Bitcoin at the best rate, and then just programmatically exchanging it for you and putting Bitcoin in your Coinmine Bitcoin wallet. And then, we added Grin in January when it launched. Our plan is to launch Handshake the day its mainnet launches. And so one of the coolest things about the Coinmine is we built the operating system. It's, we try and think in terms of Apple, which is a combination of hardware, software, and services. So obviously the hardware is the hardware. The software is both the Mine OS, our operating system, and the app. And then services are things like Compound Finance, Cred, BlockFi are some of the different services that we're looking to give people access to. So, for example, the crypto that you're making with your Coinmine, you can earn interest on it through one of these other services as well. I don't know if that was a good explanation or not. But
no, that covers all of it. So basically, I go on your site, I buy one for $700, I put it on my counter, and I could control mining anything from Bitcoin, Ethereum, Grin, Monero, Zcash right from my phone, pretty much.
That's right. The other way I like to put it is it's like an Xbox that turns your electricity into Bitcoin.
Wow, yeah, that's a good point. So, do you have any metrics on, I know Bitcoin's obviously probably the most popular here, but are there any surprising metrics that you guys track, or do you not track on, what are the most popular coins to mine? Me and my partner Kevin, we're going back and forth on, what we might think it is, but you guys obviously have great data here, probably.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It can change. So last week we launched a Grin up, or rather, my time is messed up. What day is it? Today's Tuesday. So yeah, this was last week. Grin hard forked. So if you were mining Grin at home on your own, you had to deal with the hard fork, and Grin's going to hard fork regularly. So every 6 or so months, you're going to have to do a bunch more software work. Now, we did that for you if you had a Coinmine and you didn't skip a beat. So when Grin hard forked, you didn't notice anything with your Coinmine, except we also updated the Grin mining software, and now you're hashing 80% more Grin than you were the day before. So Grin all of a sudden, became very popular on the Coinmine network when we put out an update saying, hey, you're making 80% more Grin now than you were yesterday. So basically, it's Grin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum are the three things that people are mining. Zcash and Monero are sort of in the single digits on the Coinmine. But that's also because they're just, the Coinmine is not as ideal for Zcash, for example. You'll do a lot better, with Ethereum, for example, if you're thinking in terms of fiat returns or just in terms of accumulation of Ethereum. I think you'll do better than with Zcash. So the device isn't as optimized for Zcash, for example.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, your Bitcoin only mode, that sounds pretty interesting. So basically, the coin mine just figures out whatever coin that you support is the most profitable to mine, mines it, and then auto sells it for Bitcoin or in the
That's
back
right.
end?
Yep.
Oh, wow. So how does that process happen? I mean, is it sold on an exchange or do you guys like swap with other users? How does that actually happen?
We don't currently share the details about how that's happening, but it's probably what you'd expect.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and that's fine. And how has your subscriber base or your customers reacted to the coin mine itself? Like, are they happy with what they're seeing on a return basis? I'm just wondering, like, how much people are actually making, and if it actually makes up for electricity costs. I'm sure a lot of this is probably dependent on the price of the underlying cryptos, though.
Yeah, we've seen return rates in terms of people returning the device uh, about 1/5 of industry standards. So basically, nobody's returning their coin mine.
Oh,
Which is
that's awesome. And I mean, just on the returns profitability wise for mining though,
Yeah,
like for
that's a good
Bitcoin,
question
or
too.
Ethereum.
That comes down to every person's own personal view of it. If you're we've written a couple of articles about this stuff on Hacker Noon. Um, if you're, this isn't financial advice, but my personal approach to mining is to mine and hold. If you're thinking about profitability on the day, the week, or even the month, I don't like to do that, because to me that means I'm extending myself too far financially. If I need the profitability to be right today, this week, or this month, I've extended myself too far financially. If I want to extend myself as far as I'm willing to, spend 1 to 3 years on my return, and I'll use Grin as an example. And when networks launch like Grin, when they're brand new, you can earn the most of that crypto because the hash rate of the total network is the lowest. So if you took the approach of, hey, I'm super bullish on Grin, and I think Grin gets to hundreds of dollars, if not at least tens of dollars, and it almost broke $6 or already this year. It launched basically 6 months ago. So if my goal is to accumulate Grin, I'm going to try and spend a year or two accumulating maybe 50, 100, 200, 300 Grin, because I think Grin's going to be worth $100. And you can see at that point, I made $30,000 worth of Grin. So I think the Coinmine is a great, plug and play speculation device, and a great plug and play accumulation device. If you're thinking in terms of sort of just pure daily or weekly or monthly ROI, you're either a large mining operation or you're extending yourself too far financially, in my personal opinion. If that
No,
makes
that
sense.
no, that makes a lot of sense. And let's talk a minute about the hurdles here for consumers or wannabe miners here. I mean, what's the alternative to a coin mine for $700? I mean, how much technical expertise and how much would it cost for someone to get set up as a miner in their own home without coin mine? Because I feel like you guys really lowered the hurdles for everyone to really start mining here.
Thanks. Yeah, I think of it in terms of the total cost of ownership, and we tried to make the coin mine the most economical in terms of total cost of ownership. So that includes all the parts. It includes the electricity. It includes the time and labor it takes to build the devices and maintain them over time. Um, Obviously, all the time it takes to keep the software updated, creating wallets, all those things. So if you look at it that way, and break it into a few of the chunks, you can buy parts used. For example, you don't need to buy brand new parts. You could buy used parts. You could buy used components and build yourself a device. It really depends. Anywhere in the, I think, $300 to $500 range. Maybe a little cheaper, maybe a little bit more expensive. So $400 or $500 for the parts. Then you have to spend time researching what operating system you're going to use. Is it one that you have to pay for, like Windows, or are you going to get which is another, I think, $70 or $100 or something, or maybe you get Linux and try and do a free one, which is more work. then the mining software. You could use a mining operating system. So if you take your time and think of it as even $20 an hour, for example, it's going to take you probably somewhere between 20 to 40 hours to build your device and maintain it for the first year. So now you're talking about, $400 to $800 in labor time. So you're looking at a device that's, close to $1,000, maybe over $1,000 in total, in terms of total cost of ownership.
Yeah, that's a lot of time and money that is significantly reduced by just buying a coin mine. So I definitely see the point here. And, do you think a lot of your customers are those looking to profit, or do you think that more of them are altruistic in, hey, I want to help secure the Bitcoin network, or I want to help secure the Ethereum network? Or do you think it's maybe a split between the two?
I think there are people who want an easy way and sort of low cost and barrier of entry way to get involved and started into crypto. Most of our customers are new to crypto. They also want a way of easily capturing some of the potential upside. I think they, like I said, they think of it as a form of plug and play speculation, right? I'd like to speculate on the latest and greatest cryptocurrencies. I missed out on Bitcoin. I missed out on Ethereum, maybe you're saying to yourself. I don't want to miss out on Grin. I don't want to miss out on Handshake. I'm never going to be able to do those things on my own. Most of, a lot of tokens when they launch, they're not even on exchanges. You might have to be an accredited investor to have gotten in on a pre-sale, for example. So it's a form of plug and play speculation. It's a form of plug and play on ramp to crypto.
Now that makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. And I guess just moving on to, the future of Coinmine. I mean, what do you guys plan to release, going forward, or what are your hopes here? I mean, you're obviously releasing more coins. You just rolled out support for Lightning Network, which I'd love to discuss if you can. And then I guess another broader question is, you really have a global network of, miners here. It feels like you guys could easily tack on like value-added services here. I'm just not sure exactly what they would be.
Yeah, great question. So just to be clear, the Lightning node feature hasn't been released yet, but that is one of the things that's coming this year, to answer the first part of your question. So we'll release Lightning later this year. The device ships with it on there. It just needs a little bit more updating and it needs to be turned on. So we'll do that with an over-the-air update. Coinmine works a lot like a Tesla. It gets these over-the-air updates at night that sort of improve it. Another update we did last week, or the week before rather, was an overclocker update that reduced the energy consumption by 30%. So we can do these cool things with over-the-air updates, which are what these updates are. So the Lightning one will happen later this year. Hopefully Handshake will happen, possibly a few more coins. We're hoping to, like I said, release services like Compound Finance, which allow you to just enter some of your crypto into the Compound Finance network and earn interest. We're talking with Cred to potentially work with them on it as well. We're talking to BlockFi. There's other cool things you can do. I don't know if you know about the sort of a pool together, I think it's called. It's a no loss lottery. That's another one that we're sort of tinkering with, and we might consider adding, and that's really interesting. So basically what you could do is every week you could take all the crypto that your Coinmine has generated over its time and enter it into our weekly no loss lottery. And the way that will work is everyone who enters it, we pool all that crypto, we put it into Compound Finance for a week, it generates interest. Then at the end of the week, one of the people who entered the lotto gets all the interest as their prize, and everybody else gets their principal back.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. And that's going to be really cool to see rolled out. And I mean, beyond just those things and proof of work mining, I mean, do you think that you guys will support proof of stake networks in the future? I mean, I feel like
That's
lot of networks are launching there.
Yeah, the goal is absolutely to do that. The proof of stake networks are, some of them are out there, some of them are taking a little longer. They have different requirements in terms of the type of minimum computing requirements that they need to work on your device. So a lot of it depends on what those minimum requirements end up being. Take Definity, for example. We're big fans of Definity. They haven't launched yet, but hopefully our device will sort of meet some of the minimum requirements they need to run Definity. We make run staking as services, for example, that are through the app, but not necessarily happening directly on the device. So a lot of that is still up in the air, but it's on the roadmap.
No, that's awesome. And could you dig in a little bit? I mean, you got a couple of companies listed on your website, and you alluded to a few of them prior. I mean, Compound, Dharma, BlockFi, Uniswap. How exactly do you guys kind of interplay with these providers here?
It depends. Each one can be different. Either they could be sort of a biz dev type of deal, or they could be just a straight blockchain situation where something like Compound Finance is just protocol, and it can all be done programmatically.
Okay, that makes sense. And this might be a dumb question for you, but I have to ask because there's just so much talk about this on Twitter. I mean, when you get a Coinmine and you're running Bitcoin, you're running a full node, right? And with Ethereum and others, or are these light nodes? Like, what exactly is the user running on their end?
That's a great question. So this is pretty much all pool based. The Lightning node is a full node. The Lightning node runs a full Bitcoin node. And it runs a full standalone Lightning node, or at least it will when we turn it on. When you're mining Ethereum, for example, you're mining it into a pool. You're pool mining.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's interesting. So I guess
you would never grab a block if you were a full Ethereum node. That device, you'd need a very large mining setup.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So I mean, it's super early, and I doubt you're getting this question, but if you guys continue to grow the way you are, I feel like you might get it. When a user's running, like let's say the pool, and I guess you guys take a 5% fee, which isn't a lot, especially for what you're providing. And does the pool also take a fee for the mining, or is that separate? Or
each pool is different. So typically pools take 1%, for example.
Okay. All right, cool. So I guess the only fees for the user really are $700 to purchase the device, and then 5% to you guys, and then 1 or 2% to a pool. So that's basically the whole fee structure.
That's correct. Yeah. And, the crypto that we get, that we, give to our customers, already has the pool's piece taken. And then, for example, it's a bit of a moving target. So, for example, we updated the devices to the new Claymore miner, which squeezed out, I think, another 4% on your Ethereum hash rate, 4 or 5% on your Ethereum hash rate. So that just sort of went out last week, and so our customers just started getting 4 or 5% higher Ethereum hash rate. That's similar to like the one we did with Grin, where it increased the hash rate 80%, which is kind of crazy to think of.
No, the over-the-air updates are awesome. I mean, you basically take care of everything for the user.
Yeah, I mean, you just never have to put any work into it. I mean, for you to even know that you could update your Grin, if you'd ever managed to get Grin mining software running on your computer, to know that you could have actually had it increased by 80%, it's like it becomes a part-time job, which is awesome if you love that as a hobby, right? I mean, that's great. But like I said, I've been building computers since I was a kid. I wasn't making money when I was building computers when I was 5 years old. I did it because I love it, and a lot of people love doing that stuff. And those are all the people who got crypto started and the hash power going in the first place.
No, that's huge. And just looking to the future again, I mean, it just seems like when you have one of these devices in homes around the world, like you can easily create some kind of marketplace that allows other projects and protocols to kind of leverage that. I mean, like, do you think like any of the decentralized storage players will, contact you guys to maybe take, spare compute off people's computers or storage, or like any examples there? I'm just kind of wondering where you could take this in the future too.
Yeah, that again just comes down to whatever the minimum requirements for that protocol are. So, take Filecoin, for example, or Definity, for example, who would both have storage components, so decentralized storage components to them. If their sort of minimum requirements for file size and hard drive size, et cetera, meet, this Coinmine's specs, then absolutely that's part of the whole point of Coinmine.
No, that's awesome. And I guess just a more general question from, I don't mind full time, so it might be a dumb question, maybe not, but it seems like the hardware industry for mining is just so competitive. Like whenever Bitmain comes out with a new piece of hardware, do you think that like impacts your ability for coin mines to be profitable over the long term? Like if I buy one now, like is it still going to be worth it in 5 years, or the payoff already happens way prior to that? I'm just kind of wondering how you think about the competition directly here.
Yeah, I'll tell you how I think about it with a really definitive example. And I use this example over and over again but I think this example is going to happen over and over again because it has up until now, and even if you just look barely into the future, you'll see it happening over and over again. So in January, Grin launched. On the day it launched, you were making several Grin a week on your Coinmine. Simultaneously, at that point, Zcash last year on your Coinmine, you could have been making some decent amount of Zcash, but ASICs, blasted the Zcash network, and that changed the game for GPUs on Zcash. Now, when you're doing an ASIC, you're stuck in this situation where you can't go anywhere else. You're on one algorithm. And when the next more powerful ASIC comes out and it's 20 times more powerful than yours or 50 times more powerful than yours, who knows, you basically have a piece of junk now, right? With a coin mine, the reason we built it the way we built it was to sort of address some of these problems. So with a coin mine, since we control the operating system, we can continue to add new protocols. And when protocols are new, their computation requirements are lower. And so a device that might have been, useful for Zcash last year, not useful for Zcash this year, is now useful for Grin. And maybe in a year, 2 years, 3 years, it won't be great on Grin. There'll be something else. Handshake is coming out. It may come out in the next few weeks. I'm going to switch my coin. Again, this is something a coin mine can do that nothing else can that I know of. When Handshake launches, I'm switching to Handshake like right away. And I may only power Handshake for the first couple of weeks. Who knows? I'm going to kind of see how much Handshake I'm getting. I know I'm going to get the most at the very beginning. Maybe every computer in the world gets on Handshake in the first 3 weeks. Who knows? And the hash rate goes to insane, and I may move back off Handshake and go back to Grin or go back to Bitcoin. And so that's what's really, I think, cool about the coin mine. But if you have an ASIC, you absolutely can't do that. You can't move around. And even if you have a GPU setup, you have to do all the work to be able to sort of, be on Handshake the day it launches, which means hopefully you already installed and you've been using the Handshake testnet. And you were doing that while you were updating your Grin software because Grin hard forked. So literally, you basically have to be a software developer and do this as a part-time job, or let somebody like us take care of it. So that's kind of how I think about the hardware. I don't know. Did that make sense? Does that answer that question?
No, that's awesome. I mean, the dynamic switching and kind of optimizing for whatever network's the most profitable and then selling into Bitcoin, if that's your focus, is definitely a great way to kind of future-proof yourself, I think, in a way.
Yeah. So the device, stays relevant, even if, coins kind of go through a life cycle where they start, where, you could theoretically power them with a CPU. And again, Lightning, for example, isn't, the Lightning and staking make the computation even more different. So this stuff is getting more, there's more varieties of computation that are going to be used in crypto and in general. And having a more generalized computation device is, I think, more interesting than having one that is maybe just locked into one network. They're complementary. They're not mutually exclusive. For example, Monero wants to move over to CPU mining. So in that world, we could put a nice strong CPU in the coin mine along with its GPU, and your coin mine could be simultaneously powering a ton of Monero and Ethereum, or Monero and Grin, or Monero and Handshake. And again, you couldn't do that if you were using an ASIC.
I guess just your own personal views on crypto moving forward. I mean, you're obviously supporting more crypto assets. You obviously believe that being able to mine other cryptos is a good way to future-proof your product, regardless of what you want to accumulate, because you could sell into it. Where do you think that our industry is going in your own personal opinion? Do you think that we're going to have this multi-token, multi-chain world, or do you think basically Bitcoin is king, or what are your own views here?
I think currently Bitcoin is king, and I think Bitcoin has a chance of being king for quite some time. I still think there's going to be I think the multi-coin world is here to stay, and that's because a lot of crypto networks are actually what I think I would call token operated networks. Filecoin and Dfinity I would use as examples of those. Nobody is expecting that you're going to buy your coffee or at Starbucks with Filecoin. Filecoin is a token operated network. You could buy your coffee with Bitcoin. That seems reasonable. Dfinity doesn't think you're going to be buying coffee with Dfinity. So you have token operated networks. You have some protocols that are just trying to be currencies. I'd say Bitcoin is basically, a pretty good example of that. Its language is sort of not even useful for, Turing complete programming on purpose, I think. So it's basic on purpose. And everything is programmatic. You already see wrapped Bitcoin, right? So all of these things can resolve back into each other. Bitcoin is by far, I think, the most secure database in the world. So securing your, financial information, storing value on the most secure decentralized database in the world sounds like a smart thing to do. So having all these things speak to each other, I think, is pretty trivial in the grand scheme of things. Pretty trivial compared to moving gold all over the world. So I think Bitcoin is going to stay strong, probably stay the biggest crypto for quite some time. I think Bitcoin is at least digital gold, which puts it at somewhere around the $6-7 trillion market cap. I think that puts it at about a $300,000 Bitcoin or $150,000 Bitcoin, something like that, depending on how many Bitcoin you think will ultimately be, besides the 21 million that'll be created, but there'll be at least a few million lost already. And I think Bitcoin could be anywhere up to $10 to $30 trillion market cap, which puts Bitcoin at $500,000 or $1 million. But that doesn't mean that there can't be Filecoin and Dfinity.
That's awesome. No, I like that you're taking a stance and have an opinion on the price, which most people kind of shy away from. And I definitely agree that other crypto networks like Filecoin and Dfinity should be used for their own respective purposes and not so much as spending or storing value per se. So that's interesting. And Farbood, we'd be remiss if we didn't get into one of the biggest points of your business for a minute. I mean, what have been the hardest hurdles in actually designing and building and sourcing all these materials? Because at the end of the day, you are spending obviously a lot of your time building this great product.
I think the biggest challenge in physical products, probably hardware, is getting the balance of things. And this is another lesson that for me I learned by observing how Apple does stuff, which is to essentially only ever optimize for the overall user experience, as opposed to any one specific aspect of it. You'll tend to see that, for example, Apple tries to care more about taking the best photo as opposed to having the most megapixels. So this is a challenge because you have endless choices on the components that you could do. You could make something that's $100 that does this. You could make something that's $10,000 that does that. It's sort of that you have these endless options, and you have to balance them all out into creating a consumer experience. So there's only so much noise that it can produce, only so much heat it can produce, only so much electricity it can draw, only so much cost it could have. We obviously could have gone out and made our first device a $10,000 device. That was the size of a car. So balancing all those things into something that gets your audience to buy it is, I think, the biggest challenge, because there's so many different ratios to the recipe.
No, that makes sense. It's definitely not easy to decide on the price and what things you should include in the Coinmine, because like you said, you could have easily doubled the RAM or included a better processor, but then the pricing would have just been enormous at that point.
Yeah, and then then who's the customer, and how many of them are there, and can you get to them? Is there business there?
Yeah, that's a good point. And people would hate if I didn't ask, have you guys released any metrics on, potentially, how many you've sold or how interest has been? It looks to me like interest is obviously huge on Twitter, but obviously I don't have any numbers to point to.
It's kind of overwhelming in terms of orders. We're growing way faster than we'd anticipated. We don't currently share, numbers around sales or anything with the public, but we're really pleased, and we're hustling to ramp up production as quickly as possible.
That's awesome. That's a high quality problem.
Yeah, it's a good place to be.
That's awesome. Well, Farbood, it's been awesome having you on. Is there anything that I forgot to ask you or anything that we forgot to cover?
I don't think so. Do aliens have pets?
Classic pomp question about aliens. I love that. That's a good one. Well, Farbood, where can people follow you and learn more about Coinmine?
On Twitter, I'm just at Farbood, Farbood, and on Coinmine, we're just at Coinmine and coinmine.com.
Awesome. Farbood, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Thanks.
Hey, everyone. If you enjoyed listening to the episode, please share it on Twitter and LinkedIn and give us a 5-star rating in the iTunes store.